This is Ross Payne here with Role Playing Public Radio. This is episode 33, Sightseeing Tours. Gaming in established settings, both official and unofficial.
That's what we do. We talk about stuff, and that's topical.
Yes. As I'll stop with the announcer voice, because it creeps you out.
Yeah, it kind of does, and I think if you had respect for our listeners, you'd do that.
No, I think the viewers like the
well, they do like
voice.
You more than me.
Yeah,
No, I know.
It's because I do all the work. I answer all the emails. I post on the forums a lot more. I wrote the majority of the primer.
You asked me to write shit for it. I wrote stuff for it.
We'll just... all right. Anyway, speaking of the New World primer, if you notice at the top right of the RPPR site, there is a permanent static page for the New World primer. With the New World campaign setting, we will be doing... more settings using the ransom model to next up we'll eventually have a Goblin Hulk dungeon revisit the Goblin Hulk, the giant ship of doom, and
among other things,
and have it as all kinds of fun stuff, but that's still in the planning stage. We're just not ready to have the ransom.
Well, if you want to start donating for it, well, that'd make us happy.
Well, if you like the primer, do it. But anyway, check out the main site. We got a little gallery with the art. We had 4 talented artists.
Very good stuff.
Yeah. So check that out. Pass along to your friends. We posted it on Ian World and a few other sites. It's gotten a lot of notice. So
look for it. You'll find it. It's
if
there.
you're new to the RPPR community because of the New World Primer, hello and all that.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome to our nightmare.
No, Tom, this is a community. It's an internet community.
I was just quoting Alice. I was quoting Alice Cooper.
Oh.
I do that when I feel lonely and depressed.
Oh, poor Tom.
I know.
So
it helps.
It's because you don't do anything.
Exactly.
Or you don't do enough. So, in other news, we have been playtesting my Gen Con scenarios for Monsters and Other Childish Things.
2 of them so far.
Yes, and next up we'll be doing Delta Green. I have a Delta Green scenario I'm going to be running twice at Gen Con, and I'm going to finalize plans to go to Dragon Con, actually, Labor Day weekend. So, I'm going to be volunteer with the Arc Dreams people, and so that'll be fun, and if you're going to, and I'll be running the same 6 games, or more or less. I might run different chapters of Monsters.
Yeah. I'd go, but the idea of flying in a plane just fills me with an irrational fear that I can't describe.
Really?
Yeah, I'd rather take an Amtrak.
I didn't figure you for a flyophobia person. So.
It's more, I look at that and think, wow, just all that different ways to tempt fate. Just strap yourself into an aluminum tube.
I've been in the car when you drive, Tom. I'm honestly surprised you would think about that kind of... You'd have those kind of fears anywhere.
Well, when you're in the car with me, we're not flying along at 600 miles per hour, 35,000 feet in the air.
Tom...
Though if I learned to fly, would you fly with me?
No, but I barely drive with you, Tom.
Really? I get us there a lot quicker.
No, it's my laziness overrides all other concerns. It's because I don't care, Tom. I can fly, I can drive, I can scuba dive. I don't care.
Okay, fine. Then I'll say, and it's also because I don't know if I can just take... How long is the con?
Labor Day weekend, Tom.
Well, motherfucker, I could probably actually swing that.
Yeah, but you don't have sweet, awesome connections with the publishers
to
get a free hotel.
There you go. I don't.
Yeah, there you go. I just like being a jerk, don't I, Tom?
Yes, you do. You are adept at that.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have that. One other thing, though, before we get to the main topic, I do want to announce... if you notice on our Amazon links that we have on the RPPR website, there's a refer. That's so we get a couple of cents every time you buy something on Amazon. The item costs the same for you regardless. So it's not like you're paying anything more. But over the last year, we've made $10 on that.
Man, that gets me here, man.
I know, right?
Just
so what I've done with that money is invest in RPPR. You know how I invested, Tom?
Tell me how you invested, Ross.
I bought a book on Amazon, and not just any book. I bought the gaming book.
Oh my! You didn't.
Yes,
you didn't buy it, did you?
I did. And in fact, you want to see it, Tom?
I want to see this. Show me, please.
Its subtitle is The Ultimate in Trans-genre gaming. That's not transgender.
My God.
It is in gold leaf C, as you can see here. The World of Synnibar by one...
Holy Mother of God.
Raven M.
Look at that.
Kraken. Yeah.
That is more impressive than that bag we talked about in the last episode.
Yeah, people like the bag.
Well, we touted it up.
Yeah, exactly.
But nothing we could say could possibly tout this work of genius.
I'm started using Twitter lately, and somebody's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you could buy a messenger bag for under $100 that had all these stuff in it.
Why are we talking about the bag when we have Synnibar in front of us?
I know. It's over. It's like nearly 475 pages. Oh, 477. I'm sorry. It's just ridiculous. Raven McCracken, the author, he is just... this photo it leaves me speechless. I mean, he's in there with the 80s hair and the early 90s hair and the mustache and the chainmail. This is his photo, by the way, with a sword.
That man has gotten laid. Oh, man.
He's been in a rock band.
Who cares? He wrote this.
Exactly. Most of the concepts in the world of Synnibar come from Raven's real-life experiences, trying to make the gaming rules logical and as believable as possible. He has worn armor, fought with weapons, dodged arrows, rode horses, participated in live gaming, run races, acted, performed magic tricks, jumped off diving boards, flown airplanes, fought in life-and-death situations, and fired guns, all of which makes the world of Synnibar ring with authenticity. Now, now, much has been said. So much has been said about this game that I'm not going to go into, and it's too big to tackle in any one. We could do a series.
You're holding the King James Bible here. Essentially,
the Holy Grail. Really, it is. It is beyond all things
with 80s glamour on it.
Yeah, non-class adventurers who may choose from hundreds of skills, cybernetics, and mutations, such as a human archaeologist who can wield magic, lift 2 tons, and in pinch play lead guitar in a rock band. You can do this in Synnibar.
That's a selling point printed on the book.
It is on the back cover. And I like how on the back cover, the top right corner, there's most of the book. It looks like old archaeological, the wall of an ancient temple or something. But then there's this crack. See, like it's pulled. If you pull behind it,
look at that.
There's a circuit board. So it's layers upon layers, literally layers upon layers upon layers.
That guy's penis must be huge.
So the world of Synnibar is like the most amazing thing ever. Just a random page. There's a picture of an armadillo. There's mutant baboons, psionic baboons.
I believe I saw a killer dolphin in there.
There's dolphins common and dolphin comma killer. There's 2 species. You see, it recognizes the difference.
And this isn't someone who kills dolphins. No. This is dolphin comma killer.
So, like I said, I can't do justice to Synnibar in one podcast. I mean, in just one thing. And we have a big show to do. We've got a big show to do. So what I've done instead is for each episode, until we actually run Synnibar, I will run this game as I vow to all the elder gods, to the world ship Synnibar,
and as he's threatened all of us,
and to the 3 continents: the Dark Continent, the Forbidden Continent, and the Enchanted Continent. Those are the 3 continents.
Yeah, on the world ship of Synnibar.
Yes, which used to be Mars.
Of course. Of course.
It's surrounded by a werestorm, Tom. So, anyway, I made a character, and I used the traditional method. And just so you know, I'm not going to read all the derived stats. I'm just going to read you the highlights, because, it's a lot to take in.
It's insane.
So, the basic character thing is, for attributes, you just roll 70-20 and drop anything that's lower than an 8, and then you re-roll those until they're above an 8, so they're 9 or higher, and then out of those you drop the 2 lowest and keep rolling until you roll higher, and that's how you get your 6 highest attributes. And then you roll 3d20, and that'll list the 3 classes you can be. But you re-roll if you don't meet the attribute requirements. So, like, you need a 19, and an 18.
To be the race of ninja?
Yeah, the class of ninja. They're actually, you misread it, Tom. There's no race of ninjas. They're just a class. But you can be a gnome who is a gnome in race and class. There's a gnome guild, Tom.
Are there monsters in this school?
Yes, there are monsters all over the fucking place.
Fucking A.
So anyway, I rolled a mutant. After rolling, okay, I actually didn't pick a name, so I'm just going to call him Grignor, because that's...
Wow, that's original, yeah.
So, anyways, Grignor is a mutant. He is level 1. He is human, male. You had to roll for gender. He is left-handed, actually, not right-handed. Let's see here. He has a below-average appearance, red hair, gray eyes, and he's Indian. Okay. There's a D6 for ethnicity, and so he's Indian. He has 680 life points, which are like hit points, but more extreme.
Totally extreme.
His attributes are 18 Constitution, 26 Strength, 23 Agility, 18 Dexterity, 11 Intelligence, 15 Wisdom, and 26 Ego. I'm not going to go into all the derived stats like attacks per turn, advantage bonus, shoot bonus, intelligence, beam, attack, dodge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 46%, by the way. His surprises for like Class AA to Class C. But I'll just read you a few things. He got $5,000. He doesn't have very much money.
On the world ship.
He has all the standard skills of the Adventurer Guild, but all mutants get certain skills. So the skills that he got are bartering, dancing, singing, and anthropology, exterior. So that's what the mutants get in Synnibar.
All mutants dance.
And sing. They're a triple threat.
I'm going to puke.
But the best part is you roll for your mutations. Because you're a mutant.
Well, why don't you
It's the Palladium School of Powers.
Just go ahead and tell me then.
All right. The first power I rolled, and this is no lie, is epilepsy.
This is radio, so you can't see it, but my eyes have slowly glazed over.
His second mutation is +5 to agility. So it's just a +5 to his agility.
Well, when he's jerking around from the epilepsy, I'm sure he's very agile.
Then he has Then he rolled lesser psionics generator, which just gives him a whole bunch of other psionic powers. And those psionic powers are psionic spray. Great name, right?
Yeah.
Detect danger, hypnosis, disintegration beam, psionics disruption, and then his final mutant power is mass molecule telekinetic. And you know what that does, Tom?
Why don't you tell me?
It lets him rearrange molecules in whatever order he wants, so he could turn lead into gold, he could bend glass, and a whole lot of other shit. So, technically, I guess it's kind of he could turn everything into gold and then just be rich and retire on that. But, you know, that's not as fun as killing killer dolphins and Batman. There's a species of Batman. And killer armadillos. Well, I don't know about the killer armadillos. I just assume so. There's talking raccoons.
I with bazookas.
Yes. So he can carry 900 pounds too, with his 26 strength.
Good for you.
So that's the first sample of the world of Synnibar.
Wow, it makes my butt pucker just thinking about it.
So we'll be having more over the podcast, and eventually Tom will get so obsessed with it. I mean, I'm sure he's just so intrigued by it that sooner or later he'll want to play.
I've actually spaced out and kind of forgotten the last few moments. So.
You'll remember, Tom, in your dreams, in your nightmares.
Yeah.
Welcome to your nightmare.
Exactly.
The nightmare that is Synnibar.
Thank you, Alice
Full
Cooper.
Circle. So, yeah. So let's go back to the main thing we were talking about, or that we should be talking about, which is established settings. So
yeah, and this thing brings up a whole other problems you often don't run into with just.
Well, let's first.
Okay.
What is an established setting, Tom?
Well, Ross, I'm not gonna. You do that voice. I'm sorry, that's just not me.
Yes.
It's something that it could be anything from a published setting book, like Forgotten Realms,
right,
or something based on another medium,
right.
You know, like.
Media.
Shut up. God damn it. Every freaking time.
I'm very pedantic.
Yeah, you are. No, but like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings.
Right. So anything in an established setting, basically.
Right.
Something that exists outside of games. That isn't a game-only thing. So
exactly.
Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Forgotten Realms, I think, counts as established setting.
Yeah, it does. But most of it, like when we run D&D, usually it's just generic world you make up.
Right. And also, keep in mind, this also doesn't... Like, Star Wars has game books, RPG books. There's also... You could say, let's run a game using this, like Resident Evil. Okay, well, then that's an established setting.
You need to apply a system and everything else to it, but...
So, yeah, so established settings, all that stuff, we always talk about stealing liberally from your source.
Yeah. This is where you often do it literally.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is where the term pedantic can often come up.
Yeah, I guess that's the first thing is... I think the biggest key to doing this is making sure that you know at least as much or more than your players when you're running.
Or at least your most knowledgeable player.
Right. Or I guess you can get by if your players don't care about it, but if you have a rules lawyer and
his pedantic.
Yeah,
that's another time I use that word.
Well, again, like the example would be like Lord of the Rings. You come to this river, and okay,
it's like, excuse, I can't do Cody's nerd voice, but excuse me, the river does not flow that way.
Yeah, it flows this way, and it'll take me to the city that I need to go to, and they'll be helpful because I'm this race and I know this language, and so blah 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 blah, and you ignoring everything you had prepared because their knowledge of the canon overrides your knowledge of the game.
Which, of course, then runs, and then if you start going away from canon, they're going to call you out on that.
Right. So, I guess that's the first rule of running any established setting, is making sure that you're not going to have those kind of problems. Which is also a matter of maturity for the group, too. So, like, if you're doing Star Trek, don't do it with a hardcore Trekkie who turned his living room into the command bridge. Because,
well, first of all, you shouldn't be hanging out with that guy. But second of all, you can bet he's going to know every episode of every spin-off series.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Captain Pike wouldn't do that, sir. He commanded this ship from this era, and blah, 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 blah.
Because there's a good chance that you're going to stab something into him by the end of the night.
Yeah, exactly. And, yeah, it's bad enough dealing with the annoying Boba Fett versus, Indiana Jones arguments you hear at the local comic book shop. But actually
worst
having to put it up...
ever.
Yeah, if you have to actually put it up in D20 stats, it's just like, no.
Yeah. It's that is something you do not want to deal with unless you have a Herculean willpower.
Yeah. So, I actually haven't run that many games.
I've run quite a few, and we've played. I think you've played in more than you actually have run.
I think that's true.
I remember one game we definitely both played together was that Star Wars game that Matt ran.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really, yeah, I think he did it one particular way, which is. We barely met any canon characters. I think Mon Mothma was the only one.
Right. And who cares about
Mon
Mothma?
That she's not a Jamie Sue character.
Mary Sue.
Mary Sue. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the gun from the Bloodlines video game.
What?
The sniper rifle's called Jamie Sue.
Okay.
Vampire Bloodlines?
Yeah, I know that. I don't remember the name.
You see, I know more about that than you do.
Yeah, I know. So if you're running a game, you could run a game. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, the Mary Sue character, she's just a politician.
Right. Well, it's not even really a Mary Sue character. I mean, Mon Mothma didn't save our asses and beat up
That's
Darth.
what I mean.
Yeah.
She's canon, but not really that important.
Right. So I guess the first thing is the main two options you have with an established setting is, one, are you going to use it as a set dressing, which is basically the background, kind of like we're doing it Star Wars, but it's just going to be kind of a space game or whatever, or you're actually going to do like the guided tour where
we start on Coruscant.
Yeah.
And,
interact with the canon, like if you're doing a Firefly game, that would be like on the Firefly or the Serenity. What's the ship? Is the ship the Firefly?
The Serenity.
The Serenity.
It's a Firefly class.
See,
Firefly class ship.
The Serenity fans would be like, "Oh my God, he is not one of us! How dare he!"
Oh, if Aaron were here, you'd be schooled.
I know.
Totally.
I wouldn't care.
No, and you wouldn't either. you would have a bemused expression on your face.
Yes, Aaron. So. Yeah, that's the first choice you have to make. And the set dressing, it's going to be a lot easier on you because these questions about canon and authenticity and all this other crap not going to come up as much.
And for most established settings, it's easy to do. Like the world isn't described in such graphic detail that every hamlet and forest is covered.
But on the other hand, after a certain point, you have to ask, well, what's the point of doing a game if you're not going to use this?
Well, I think eventually you need to start seeing some stuff people recognize.
Right.
In the case of Star Wars, you could just do like an Imperial Star Destroyer is orbiting the planet for some reason.
Well, I was thinking more like people aren't going to necessarily not just want the Star Destroyers; they're going to want to interact with the main character.
Well, I mean, but start with that.
Yeah.
And I think as you work up with levels, because if you rush out and throw Darth Vader right into the first session of the game. Well, first of all your players will be dead. I could use Darth Vader in the first. Yeah, well, the thing is, you're a mature GM that also understands that a game isn't all about combat,
right?
Or the major players being so much more powerful than everyone else.
No, you see, what I would do, I would have everybody a stormtrooper listening to a speech by Darth Vader. Kill the Rebel Alliance, or you shall die, or some crap.
Well, the player's like, well, what's he talking about? Oh, the regular kill the rebels thing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Did you catch the game last night? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of the first thing, how interacting, how close are you going to be to the canon, and all that other stuff. And then, of course, the second big problem is the NPCs, like the big canon NPCs, and it can be incredibly rewarding, and it's also a goddamn minefield of problems. Oh yeah, like I'm sure you have a lot more experience with this.
Yeah. Well, I'll mention the few Star Wars games I've actually played in. I haven't experienced it too badly, but I have heard that of several games where it is just going to all the different major players of the canon and thoroughly getting schooled or their asses kicked by them.
Right. Again, this is the Mary Sue problem, which is obviously not limited to established settings, but it's obviously a very common problem. In fact, Mary Sue came from fan fiction. Did I tell you the history of that?
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah. Have I mentioned it on the show? I can't remember. But basically, long story short, back in the 60s when fan fiction first started up with Star Trek, fan fiction newsletter, someone wrote a fan fiction story about, and this woman named Mary Sue wrote about a new Starfleet cadet named Mary Sue who would come in, seduce Kirk, outlogic Spock, save the day again and again and again. And everyone's like, oh, give me a break. And then it started happening in other stories, and people started calling them, oh, that's another Mary Sue. Right. And every overpowered NPC in a game that does these things you're talking about is a Mary Sue. So.
Yeah, and it's not just a Mary Sue. Also, if you do, like, especially if it's something from a movie where an actor has played the role.
Yeah.
So a lot of your players aren't going to believe it if you just use your own voice to speak as them.
Yeah.
They're going to expect a little inflection.
James Earl Jones.
Or you can't do. Or God help this poor damn game master. He actually had
something dark side.
No, it was the Gungans.
One thing that doesn't help the game at all, anyway.
Well, but the thing is,
me's a crime against God. Me's a be put out of my misery now.
Yeah.
Well, the problem was that we were trying to negotiate it with them, for some reason, and so he not only had to play one.
Yeah.
He had to play a whole table full of them at a negotiation, and you could the thing is, most of the group was actually expecting this level of commitment from the GM. So he is over there, a vein slowly pulsing in his forehead.
Did they want the voices?
Yes, they do. In fact,
who the hell are these people?
A group I gamed with at Ozark Technical College.
Tom, no gaming is better than bad gaming. That's bad gaming. That's like, no, I fell down the stairs. That's where my black eye came from gaming. I mean, that's like really, that's like...
I am opening up, though.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I think I've actually mentioned this group once or twice before.
I think you have, but I mean...
I was with him. I
feel bad for you for being a dick earlier. Man, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. Any time he did an alien race in this game, they wanted him to sound like it if it was mentioned. So... in a Trandoshan, he actually had to do a growly, hissy kind of voice. If he was doing a Twi'lek, they actually expected him to know some Twi'lek words from Return of the Jedi.
God help him if he tries to do Klingon, like a Star Trek game. Like.
Oh, jeez. But there's that. But obviously, don't go that far, or you truly are just a loser. Seriously. But they are going to want to at least somewhat believe they're actually talking to this big major character.
Yeah.
They're going to want to know that. So you do have to do that. You can't just okay, and then Admiral Akbar says, "You must go on this mission. Here is the plans I have made."
Also, there's a possibility that there might be a device in which could harm you because of its potential hiddenness and lethality. In other words, it could be possibly what's the term?
It's like underling. Tell me that. Trap, sir. Yes, thank you.
Yes, it could be a trap. No, that doesn't sound right at all.
No,
it's a trap.
But you don't. Admiral Akbar, you don't have. There's not too much you have to do, but you do have to say it's a trap at some point.
See, if I was doing a Star Wars game, I'd at least put the Emperor in, because again, it's like
something dark side. Yes, soon to my plans.
Because I can actually do that voice. I think. Yeah. I don't know. You tell me. Is that the good voice? Is it good for a gaming?
It's good for gaming. However. If this
don't apply for voice acting job.
Yeah, but if this scene's going to go on for 20 minutes, you might try, excuse me, I have to take a break to drink something.
Yeah, exactly.
The dark side has corrupted my voice.
I need some fruit juice to moisten my throat. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually that would suck. So I guess the problem is,
But the thing is, I guess long story, much longer now.
Yeah.
Is you have to give it some respect. A major player, you have to give some respect, but then again, you also don't have to give them all the respect in everywhere.
well, I think the thing is, when is an NPC a canon NPC, and we mean like a real character in the game, in the setting, Drizzt or Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader or whoever. When does he help the game and when does he hurt the game? You've mentioned how he hurts the game. The Gungans.
Yeah, he can help the game. Like
when?
Okay. Here's a game I was in where Darth Vader actually did show up. It did not happen right away. I believe we started at level 1.
Yeah.
We were up to level 8, so we have a good amount of gaming of playing. We got our characters have reputations. We're all, of course, with the Rebel Alliance. Of course, that's just how this game was rolling.
That's how it rolls.
Yeah, and we were sent actually after accomplishing several missions of importance, but encountering no one really huge.
Right.
We were sent on another one that they didn't think anyone else could do. Or like all their super elite teams are out on other more important missions, but this thing had to be taken care of, and we were sent.
Okay.
And Darth Vader happened to be doing an inspection of the place while we were there.
Oh, okay.
And the thing was, we didn't have to take him on.
Right.
We could have just but it was appropriate because we arrived there. We're like, holy shit, Darth Vader's here.
Okay.
And it was like big, like holy, like we have got to be on our toes here because the power then is effective because we have to change our whole stratagem here.
Right.
We can't go in guns blazing.
Right.
And something like that, like say if you have like a combat nuts group, throwing someone in they couldn't possibly hope to defeat might make them have to seek a different way to do it.
Well, that's a problem though. We mentioned before how boss NPCs have really bad luck when it comes to players. I mean, what's the trouble is, with Darth Vader, what if you have crazy NPCs who are like, oh, I'll just aim shot to the head with my ultra heavy blaster. Oh,
well, the thing with Darth Vader, there's also force abilities to sense and attack and things like that.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is that sounds really cool. So did you just avoid him, basically?
Yes, we actually, he did find us during the mission.
Yeah.
And we did the appropriate thing when a investigator in Call of Cthulhu runs into Haster.
Okay.
We hauled ass. We hauled ass out of there. But it wasn't, run. We did the logical thing. We threw down countermeasures in our path, fired shots at him that he effortlessly deflected. But it was, it was a firing, shooting retreat.
I see.
And we barely got out. We did accomplish our mission. And and it felt so much sweeter because we did it in spite of the fact that Darth Vader was there.
Okay, I can see that.
And when you get back, you bragging rights like, dude, Vader was there. We still did the mission.
Okay, I can see that. So yeah, that sort of
and if you want to actually defeat one and fight one, that's like especially like in Star Wars with Darth Vader. When you get close to ending a full blown level 1 to level 19 or 20 campaign. That's a good final thing to do.
Okay, so yeah, that sounds like an incredibly rewarding game because of
it was.
Like, you're actually facing this iconic villain and you actually pulled it off and you sit Well,
like the first time we talked for hours just like, dude, we survived that. And we encountered other characters. Like we never encountered the Emperor directly because the GM wisely said that's not likely to ever happen.
Right.
But we encountered, some other, like, Boba Fett. And it works. It's great when they're not just thrown in all the time. But when you do encounter it, you remember it more. Okay. Because it means more.
So you only need one. You don't need many. Just one or two at a time or something like that.
No, actually, a great time for many.
Right.
Is especially if they're, Alliance.
Right.
And you're at a big meeting. Like, if you're actually at that briefing for the battle to Endor... Mm-hmm. That you do feel like, wow, we're in the middle of this shit.
Okay. Yeah, recreating the Battle of Endor. Yeah, that could be a very rewarding game. So,
it's good. Canon can be used when it's used to enhance the game and not just to throw impossible shit at your players.
Well, I think sort of the key that made it so rewarding was that everyone stayed on script. And I'm not saying that they railroaded or anything like that, but like it would have been terrible. It would have sucked if somebody like said, "Oh no, I just did the typical gamer logic thing
and attacked him."
Well, or like, I know, I'll use all my thermal detonators and set up a trap that he can't possibly detect, and or rig his shuttle with it. Wait till he steps in and then detonate it.
Yeah. Well, one thing that kept that first of all, this whole group, we were knowledgeable. We knew all about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And we liked it enough to actually show it a little respect.
Okay.
If you just have people that just kind of, not even a lot, but just a little respect Star Wars.
Yeah.
They're gonna try and go along with it.
Right.
But the GM said that he was ready for that.
Oh, really?
That fine. All right. Well, first you have to identify Vader's shuttle out of one of hundreds that are docked here.
Right.
Then you have to, get on board, sneak past security, plant the charges,
right,
get out without being seen, and have Vader not sense that something's going on.
Yeah.
And the biggest one he said was, "We're also under orders."
Yeah, but again, these are players.
But if they're also if they were playing smugglers, then he said he would just go with the utter impossibility of actually probably pulling that off without being totally undetected.
Yeah.
So there's the he made all the dangers of every plan known.
It sounds like you had a good group and a good game.
Good group, good GM.
Yeah.
And we worked well together, which I can say that can make all the difference in the world.
So, yeah, that sounds like a great experience. Sounds like the right way to use them, and just like, I guess, with the right touch. It requires being a more experienced and more confident GM, I think. If you're not doing this right out the gate, I mean, once you know your players and you know what they can handle and if they'll respect the setting,
and I've even had a few games I've heard of, I never played in, but where they have thrown a major player right into the mix the very first time, but it was to completely overwhelm them with a sense of danger to get them moving.
Right.
Not to just okay, hey, look, you got to fight now. Start Darth Vader, huh?
Again, that's one of those more advanced things where if it's done right, it works well. But if it's not done right, it just the game's ruined.
It's done. It's done. That game's done.
There's one one intro for a game I want to do at some point where it's like, all right, you're falling. What do you do?
Yeah.
Just started in D&D games, something like that. You're falling. What? I'm falling? What the fuck? Either they're like, all right, let's do this shit, or like, I give up. I don't care.
I've only encountered a player like that one time, thankfully.
Yeah.
They're just like, just give up.
Yeah. So, one of the other things, of course, is obviously creating the game, creating the universe, and everything else like that. It's easier when you have the established games, like Star Wars, which has all that shit written
its
down.
own system, everything's statted out.
But you mentioned that you run games in settings that don't have official game books, like Guardians of Transformers. So, let me ask you, like, when you're adapting this work to the table, basically, what is authentic? What is your sort of modus operandi? What do you think is the authentic thing that you try and carry forth from the setting into the game? I mean, it's like, okay, this is the core of this setting. This is what the players want. This is what I want to do, and translate that into D20 stats. Go.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I do is I thoroughly watch the crap out of what I'm running the game on. And then from there, I just kind of decide what system would work best for this. Some systems are more set for other things, for certain games. Like D20. D20 is kind of good for just overall, especially D20 Modern, for something that doesn't have a whole lot of magic. Like say I was going to run the Modern Day League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It's got some rules for magic and shit, but not heavy. So you could just run a John McClane and Rambo and all that.
Harry Potteroo.
Harry Potteroo.
Yes.
But if it requires if there's going to be a lot more detail involved. I know my group. I want to know if they just think it's going to be cool to play in that system, or if they're really wanting to get into the universe. I define that as either we are either going to play in the universe or screw with the universe. And I was involved in a game based in Harry Potter to screw with it, which we made totally original characters, and we made it our personal goal to, to be jackasses to everything.
The anti-setting.
Yes.
Let's go to this place so we can vandalize it.
Well, let's just say we were doing things like going around to the house with what Draco Malfoy, I think, is his nemesis.
I have never read
I think that's it. And we just go around like our line was Draco Malfoy. It's time for your weekly beating.
Okay.
We did it for that. But like in the case of my Gargoyles game,
yeah.
First of all, we all really love Gargoyles. We love the cartoon. So when that fateful day in the car, I believe it was in the drive-thru, where you mentioned, oh hey, that White Wolf actually has there's a setting for it for Gargoyles. Or really?
Yeah.
I looked it up that night and looked at it, decided, okay, I'm gonna go with White Wolf.
That's right. There's a fan adaptation.
It was a fan adaptation.
Yeah.
But I took their ideas and threw in a lot of my own. And by the time it was finally done, we had a game that's lasted for 4.5 years.
Awesome.
And for that one, I felt White Wolf is better because there's all kinds of weird magic, fae. I threw in demons and angels. But I always check with my group before I try to get as much done as I can before, and I go, okay, now what other stuff? I have a list of stuff here that I was thinking of throwing in, and do you have anything you'd like to see in there? And the first time we talk, we just go through a Q&A session of what we want to see, what we don't want to see, what we like from the series, what we don't. It evolves from there. So, at the end of that Gargoyles, what that got into is I mixed the Gargoyles universe with a little bit of World of Darkness. Like 90% Gargoyles, 10% World of Darkness. And, it's essentially just including vampires. Because, they both can only operate at night. It seemed to fit.
Right.
But I chose not to do
Does White Wolf have vampire rules?
It does.
See, I made a joke. I made a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I did with that, and that's how that whole thing got to work.
Nice.
And once again, we all respect we respect the source material enough to stay on the same page and avoid unnecessary jackassery.
Right. So you also mentioned Transformers, too.
Yeah, this was actually a request. I hate to admit it, I kind of enjoy the new animated series they did.
I don't
Teach his own,
watch
I know.
it. Yeah.
It's a little like the first
I watch
season.
grown-up shows. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, like Law and Order.
Yeah, I know. Law and Order.
Yes.
But the first season was a little much more lighthearted. So Aaron and I especially were kind of fans of it.
Yeah.
We're like, this would be kind of like, what do you think? Kind of running a game off this sometime. I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. But and then once again, that fateful conversation evolved into a several month-long planning process. Where the fateful day came. I sat him down like, okay, if I'm going to run this, what do we want in there? What do we want in there? Anything you don't want to see? Anything you want to add?
Right.
By the end of that night, we have decided what we wanted from the animated series, and also that we were going to go ahead and add a completely different media to it, which, of course, Terminator Salvation had just come out. So I was requested to make Transformers the Animated Series with elements from the Terminator.
Nice.
Which, honestly, I know how that sounds, but it's weird. It's weird to actually try to think
robots fighting robots. That's so retarded, Tom.
Well, also in time travel, Skynet,
yes.
blah blah, John Connor, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the whole idea of just figuring out a way to mix those two together that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
That took another month.
I see.
Of not constant work, but pretty dedicated work, and I think I'm finally on the verge of about ready to run that in Mutants and Masterminds, which the hearts was okay. Giant robots that aren't being piloted. I need a system for that.
Right. One interesting thing is, you mentioned all the players, they wanted to be Transformers. And
yeah, I actually asked them before, and okay, do you want to just be Transformers, or do you want to also allow like non-Transformer characters?
Uh-huh.
They all actually decided, no, we all want to be Transformers.
You see, the thing for me, the Transformers really is about the human-robot interactions.
And that's actually one of the primary elements they wanted me to keep in there.
Right, but like for me, I would probably be tempted to run on Transformers game using monsters and other childish things, like to have the kid and the robot and that their relationships. I don't know. I mean, I think it sounds like with every being a cool ass giant robot, I can understand the appeal, but I think you're kind of losing something. But what do I know?
Well, we shall see.
I'm not a Transformers fan, really.
I know you're not. I know.
So I just remember the original cartoons and my having the original Optimus Prime.
Ew, well, you were hardcore.
I know I was back in the day. So,
but yeah, it could go very well because the last game I've kind of run on this system of creating it has worked out really well.
So what is the essence of a given setting for you? I mean, like when translating it to a game.
Well, that depends from setting to setting, but I try. Obviously, I
mean, what do you look for?
Okay, I look for, among other things, the major players.
Right.
You know, the main characters, main villains, and how closely do I want them to work with the players, or if in fact the players will be playing them. Right. In some cases. So
you actually have players stat out specific people from the setting then, and
I've done that. I haven't. That hasn't happened yet because they want to create their own characters.
Right.
But I've asked that a few times. Also, the general idea or kind of theme, how gritty it is, if it's all about fighting, if it's about character interaction, and there's more. But most important, I start with just how hardcore or how lighthearted do I have to make this? Is it going to be more funny and kind of joking around, or is it going to be, fate of the world's in our hands, I have scars all over my face, I'm a grim warrior kind of thing?
I see.
Yeah, I actually ran a one-shot based on Escape from New York one time.
Yeah? How was that?
It went okay.
Okay.
But everyone wanted to be Snake Plissken.
Did you actually let a player do that, or have him be the NPC?
I let him be an NPC. Right. Actually, I made them. They were gangs. They were members of the Duke of New York's gang. Who were told to hunt. Make sure he doesn't escape with the president.
Oh, I see. How did that work out?
Violent.
They all get killed?
Half of them got killed, and Snake Plissken got away because he had the only guns on the island.
Nice. That actually would be pretty fun. Hunting the most dangerous prey, Snake Plissken.
With the only firearms.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's interesting. I think the biggest problem with any setting, though, are going to be the NPCs, like the set dressing, the items, the background,
unless the items particularly overbalancing, but that just kind of falls into overbalanced items again.
Again, that's easy to take away special items and things like that, or just don't let them have it in the first place. But lightsabers aren't so overpowering, really.
Not really. I mean, especially if you're a level 1 Jedi.
Right. I think the main problem, if you look at Forgotten Realms has some crappy NPCs in it. I mean, Drizzt, boy, is he a Mary Sue, two wielding scimitars.
Zostom.
Huh?
The Lich.
What?
Zostom. Zostam or something.
Whatever. He's a bad guy, though.
He's a Lich. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Epic level Lich character.
Okay. But people don't see, that guy, that Lich, that's the thing about Forgotten Realms.
Elminister.
Yeah, Elminister. That's those are the prima donna Mary Sues of all time. Like Elminister, he polymorphs into monsters to have sex with him. This is canon, by the way. I think he turned into a woman to have sex with the goddess of magic or something. I don't know. I read the Wikipedia article about him a few months ago, and then I read some forum threads.
Or Halaster Blackcloak, the insane epic level wizard.
Yeah.
Okay, dude, if I know these and you don't, you obviously don't know as much as you think.
I don't care, because I'm just talking about the Mary Sues that are Drizzt and Elminister. And the problem is, I think, especially when you're dealing with this, any setting, is like, why don't the NPCs do it? Like, if there's a world-threatening problem or there's a big problem, why don't we get Elminister to do it? Why don't we get, if he's not too busy banging a rust monster, or
very necessary, mind you.
Yeah, or Drizzt is out, being the awesome badass who kills hundreds of orcs with his 2 scimitars and his panther thingy and blah 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 blah. Why can't they do it? So. Has that come up in your games? I know, like, when I ran Forgotten Realms, I basically used it as a set dressing, so I ignored all as much of that.
Yeah, actually, in the case
I set it in the middle of the wilderness too.
Yeah, especially with Forgotten Realms, the game's never lasted long enough to really start to worry about those big players.
Yeah,
because all the threats we were facing were low-level threats that. Well, I can see why you wouldn't bother with this one.
Right.
Like, horde of marauding orcs, great. Yeah, that's totally worth the most powerful mortal in the whole universe's time.
Nice.
So, I could see it being a problem when they were getting close to level 20, or they're at level 20.
Well, or having an epic plotline, even if you're level 1, if you're like, oh, we need to take this ring to Mount Doom, otherwise we're all.
Well, I think they're actually the things I've encountered. If you're running an epic game, often like, oh yeah, these established epic characters are so stupid. I'm gonna make my own epic level character.
Tom, when I mean epic, I don't necessarily mean like epic level. I just mean epic in the sense like you have a great quest to save the world.
What I mean is like a GM in that case often like, well, screw the established ones. I want to make my own NPCs.
I see.
My own major players. They're gonna be way better than those.
Do you do that?
Yes, actually, I've been known to do that. Well, not so much in D&D because the group.
Well, in established settings though.
Yeah, like the gargoyles, I do. I literally have used every major canon character in that series, but I've used them as mostly as adversary, non really threatening adversaries or allies or associates.
Okay, that's cool.
They never steal the show from the players. That's the most
important.
important thing to remember. Don't steal the show from the players.
That's true. Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader may be the stars of the silver screen, the stars of the.
But we are the stars of this
basement
of this 8mm movie.
Well, I was going to say your basement, but
silver screen. I was going okay, and then 8mm pornographic movie over here.
You have to go there, Tom.
I stepped there.
Yeah, you did.
And I stand by that trip.
So. Yeah, I think that's the last takeaway we should have for that is your players are the stars of this particular production, and don't let the NPCs, even if they are legendary icons of the screen and book and all that other stuff, take over. They're only there to make it more awesome for your players. Yeah,
so when you do encounter them, it's cool, not great. What do we supposed? We'll just sit back here while you fix it. Have fun.
Okay. Well, I think that about kind of summarizes.
I think it does. Yeah.
I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. So we will have Tom has a letter.
I do.
We have some favorite threads, some shout outs, and an anecdote from the listener email, and I'll have another dozen Synnibar. No, I don't have any more Synnibar characters.
He will though.
I will for the next episode. We'll see what we roll up next. Will it be a winged warrior, an alchemist, or an aquarium, or an Amazon?
Or a cave demon.
Cave demon, yeah. I could be a cave demon.
Yeah. So, stay tuned. The listener to this show will no doubt understand I tend to admit very unflattering things about myself. Sometimes I wonder why I do this. Maybe it's because I need the attention. Like Britney Spears sitting in that salon chair muttering to herself while shaving her own head. Maybe I need people to notice me. It wouldn't be hard for some to imagine me sitting in my recliner wearing the Street Sharks t-shirt I had in middle school and the rubber Velociraptor gloves that came with the costume set I bought in 1998, drinking a Diet Cherry Pepsi that tasted of warm flat soda and sadness, listening to the soothing sounds of Rammstein as I cried myself to sleep thinking, am I too not a man? In an effort to steer my ever-deflating ego away from total loss, I will talk about something simply entertaining. Entertaining and laughable, like the government actually referring to nuclear radiation and things called sunshine units. In this case, the topic will be role-playing in an MMO. To begin with, role-playing and MMOs do not belong together. Like magnets with opposite polarities. Like oil and water. Like Sunny Delight and VX. So in playing Star Wars Galaxies, coming across the RP tag that could be put above your character to indicate that you wish to roleplay caused me to emit a very childlike Christmassy giggle. I applied the tag, started playing, and waited for the hilarity. I didn't have to wait long. In a previous letter, you may remember I talked about my Trandoshan entertainer. This story involves my alternate character, a Mon Calamari shipbuilder and architect. So there I was on Talos, one of the moons of Corellia, my 51st level artisan mining for minerals outside the city of Nishal. I was mining the long way for XP because XP is more important than family, friends, food, and air. Without warning, a 90th level commando flies up on a sleek speeder bike, wearing a full set of Mandalorian armor, wielding a lava cannon. It was like Goliath versus, well, a fish guy panning for minerals. That would be surreal enough, but in addition to his icon indicating he was a member of the Imperial faction, he too had the RP tag. Oh, let the fun begin. He marched right up to me and said, and I quote, "All right, Fishman, by the decree of the Emperor, you will hand over all your mind resources to me now." I was stunned. Is this all the Imperials had to do? Shake down people for resources? Then I thought back to the movies and remembered, oh yeah, they do that. So I responded, I'm sorry, but the Mon Calamari laws of compensation prevent me from doing so. He said, what did you say, worm? I replied, according to my people's custom, those who are compensating for small penises with large guns can't be given gifts. Judging by that huge cannon, I would need a tunneling electron microscope to see your penis. Sounded like a perfectly reasoned, well-RP'd response to me. He disagreed. Apparently he got on Ventrilo and called in the rest of his clan. Soon I had 5 90th level commandos and 6 90th level Dark Jedi surrounding me, showering me with threats and demands for money and resources. Interestingly enough, they were also showering me with dueling requests. It was then that the true impotence of this gang of combat demigods came obvious. Since I was not in a PvP area, they couldn't just attack me. It's like the guards at a supermax prison being unable to touch or harm the prisoners in any way. I let them yell for a few minutes before I cut in with the following. My Imperial friends, I apologize. I cannot complete the rituals of extortion. We have enough present for the circle jerk part, but I do not have any lilac-scented candles. Then I walked away. I quit Galaxy soon after, but I will always have the memories. Also, Mon Calamari's circle jerk.
All right, Tom, that was, well...
You have the image in your head, don't you?
Yeah, not really, but just actually I'm proud of you for sassing those RPers who took things too seriously.
Yeah, I mean...
Seriously, like, shaking down one guy half their level for 6 of them.
That they can't even fire upon?
Yeah, that's pretty retarded.
Yeah, well, that's why I responded in a kind of...
back in the day, you know...
Back in my day, boy!
I had a World of Warcraft character, a paladin named Grignor, who was on a PvP RP server, and I was a paladin, and that was actually pretty hard to do, because they're kind of like...
I've never played that.
Yeah. Well, if people who played World of Warcraft know, like, that was my only character in there. And I quit before the new expansion came out, so that's why I stuck at level 68. But, yeah, I remember getting PvP'd all the time. But, you see, the Paladins have one ability where they can have a Divine Shield, where they're basically invulnerable for about a minute or so. Mm-hmm. And then there's the ability called Hearth, where you can basically teleport back home. So if they attack me, I could just, like, bubble and then Hearth. You're like, fuck you, you can't do anything. And they got so pissed when I did that. It's like, God damn it, you idiot, you blah, 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 you can't do this.
I will find you!
Yeah, but I got PvP.
But just take comfort.
And Paladins suck at PvPing on their own, like, they can't kill anything on it. They're
take comfort in the fact they were probably really fat guys sitting at home doing that.
Exactly, yeah.
And you are sleek and thin.
All right. Well, anyways, we have some favorite threads I want to mention.
I'll just mention my one, which is actually kind of the inspiration for this episode idea.
Yes.
Which is the one I believe entitled "Rehabilitating a GM and Why I Hate Knights of the Old Republic." I like it. It's not a very long thread, but I like it so much because it totally resounds with experiences I've had.
Yeah.
And especially when the part where it's revealed the GM was running the game solely off the video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Actually, my favorite part was the fact that he described how the GM would throw literally wave after wave of the same group of enemies at the players in an effort to level them up. Like, she thought you had to grind in a tabletop game, not realizing that, you have these things called pencils with erasers. So you could just erase your, level 12.
Well, unless you're hardcore and you use a pen.
And, well, like I do. But still, you could...
Yeah, you're hardcore.
Yeah, I could just mark out 12 and put in 20. And
oh, God!
My imaginary Jedi is suddenly 8 levels higher. And if everyone else at the table agrees to it, it's not really cheating.
Exactly.
So that is a good thread. So I only have 2. One is called Project 15. It was just started today, or just the other day, and it's about a guy wanting to publish his own game and wanting to get some advice about that. And basically, I just lay down the knowledge. You
drop some knowledge on
knowledge on what you have to do to get your own game published, like RPG published, and actually try and make some money and like correct some misconceptions about copyright law that someone had and things like that. So if you're interested in publishing your own game, you might want to check that out.
Ross is a fountain of knowledge.
Yeah, it's actually a really big topic, and I couldn't write it all in a couple of forum posts. It's like ridiculous. So if you are curious about starting your own writing your own game, getting it published, feel free to ask specific questions. Or
come over here, pay $20 so you can rub Ross's head for luck.
Okay. Okay. That left me. That's actually a good segue to my next thread, the creepy thread of doom. I started this thread the other day, and it's the rules are simple: post a creepy image or link or thread or story or something.
Our own version of the something awful thread.
Yeah, exactly. And I started with a very interesting story called Candle Cove, which is part of a creepypasta, which is good. Do you know what copypasta is? Does that? No.
I do not. No.
Okay, it's a 4chan term, and I know you're 4chan, but basically it's a deconstruction of copy paste. Like if you find something interesting on the internet, you copy it and you paste it into another thread, and that's become copypasta. And then creepypasta are scary stories that people tell on the internet that have no author, and there's a whole bunch of them out there. So if you do a search for creepypasta, you find all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah,
awesome.
So that's it. It just started. There's not a whole lot there, but it
will grow to immensity.
Yes. So when we start with
shout-outs,
yes.
First, I will go first.
Okay, fine. Go first.
I will.
Fine.
My first one is actually a book I picked up.
Yeah.
By Lewis Black, called Me of Little Faith. He's hyped the crap out of it, so I'm sure many of you have heard of it.
Yes.
It's just good vintage Lewis Black, funny most of the time, serious at some points, but more importantly, really funny.
Yes. Okay. That's cool.
Thank you for just moving right along there, Ross. I might have had something else to say.
Oh well, do you have something else?
No, but I'm simply commenting on it.
Oh, okay. First, I would like to mention Page to Screen. It's a TV show that was on basic cable. I think Bravo. I'm not even sure. I don't even know if they showed it anymore, and I don't know if you can get it on DVD. But it's a book. It's a TV series about adapting novels or books into movies, and talking about the challenges of adaptation. And the reason I bring it up is when you're trying to write your own game or run your own game in an established setting, you're basically adapting it from book or movie or whatever to a tabletop game, which is a different media and a different genre and different conventions. So it's a lot of different challenges there. Like what's important in bringing this 600-page novel to a 90-minute movie. So what's your next one?
My other one is another book.
Yes.
That I picked up from the bargain bin at not Vintage Stock, Metagames. I'm sorry, I nearly plugged the wrong place.
Yes.
But Metagames, I picked up Battle Dragons from Spartacus Publishing, which is essentially such a perfect book for me, which is just you're playing dragons that fight and have armies if you want.
Oh.
And anyone who's...
The cover has a picture of a dragon totally breathing fire and on some other dragon.
I know.
And it's like, a 90 image comic, heavy metal album cover kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. 19...
Kind of got a Thundercats ripoff logo there.
Yeah, I totally do.
Yeah.
It is... Anyone who knows that I like to play monstrous characters... I know.
I'm shocked.
This is perfect for me because that's all they got.
Yep.
And that's beautiful. It's just...
Of course, I would give a shout out to the world of Synnibar, but I've already mentioned it. It's just so amazing.
Well, you can't sing its praises enough.
I know, but it's like the fine wine. You don't want to drink it all at once. You want to savor it. It's like a fine wine. That's horrible.
Don't do that voice.
I know. I'm a horrible, horrible person.
Or even worse, we'll make you do it in a later game. Much like you keep having to play the goblin.
Finally, I would like to mention. Just Freeman's Mind. It's this YouTube series. It's basically a playthrough of Half-Life 1, and the only thing is there's a guy narrating. He sounds a little like Ray Romano, but he's like, "Man, I hope there's Doritos in the vending machine. I like to call them up and like, hey, there's no chips in this machine, and also we're being attacked by aliens." And it just makes fun of all the video game logic of Half-Life 1. It's like, oh, who put the ladder on the elevator shaft on the other side of the door? It's like, you put the ladder there so you can work on the elevator, but how are you going to get to it? God! It's just very, very retarded and funny.
Well, often funny is retarded.
Yes, exactly.
Fart jokes are good.
So, I'd like to end our little show with a little anecdote.
It's not a little show.
Yes, it's a great, big, awesome, incredible show.
We just mentioned Synnibar. That graduated it to a whole new level.
It's the ultimate in transgenre gaming. I'm going to bring
Well said.
Yes,
well
exactly.
Said.
Over 50 character classes.
Mwah, magnifique.
One of them is Biosynthia Cyborg. I don't know what
Wait, are there mutants?
Yes. I made a mutant.
I
He
know,
rolled
but
epilepsy
I
as
just
a
wanted
power.
I just wanted to make sure that there are mutants.
Another mutant power is schizophrenia.
That's incredible.
I know, right? All right. Well, anyways, we got an anecdote. Stu Venable, angryfolks.com, writes in, "Hi, guys. I just discovered the show a week ago as I started the gaming itch again, getting the gaming itch again. I especially like your anecdotes and wanted to relate my own. I ran a GURPS fantasy campaign from the mid-'80s to the mid-'90s. While there was a lot of player turnover during those 10 years, the campaign world, the main bad guys, etc., remained consistent. During the course of this campaign, I had several incidents of PC-on-PC assassinations."
Oh.
It's always a good topic. First was probably within the first year or two of the campaign. I received a call from one of the better players saying, "I just wanted to let you know, tomorrow I'm going to kill Timmy's mage."
Not Timmy.
Yeah, his tone was very solemn. So maybe I should say, "I wanted to let you know, tomorrow I am going to kill Timmy's mage."
That was terrible.
Was that solemn?
No.
Yeah, well, I'll just give it up to him. He was a good role player who had been pushed to the edge and felt compelled to engage in the metagaming to improve the campaign. Timmy, you see, was very adept at squeezing out a great deal of bang out of every character point. He was also very good at finding and exploiting broken rules, especially with regards to spells.
Yeah.
So I asked the would-be assassin why. He said, "His character annoys the shit out of me. He's a walking rules rape." Yeah, he is, I agreed. Make sure you roll well. In the next session, Timmy's character was stabbed in the back by a female barbarian immediately after a particularly bloody encounter. In the end, it did little to stop his maximizing, but his exploits of broken rules calmed down a bit.
There you go. Yeah.
See? Therapy through violence.
It's death therapy.
Exactly.
Or as the Joker said in the Tim Burton Batman movie, "I've been dead once before. It's very liberating. You should think of it as therapy."
A year or so later, a similar situation happened with a different player. We call him Bjorn. Bjorn was a bit of a rules twinker, not as bad as Timmy, but also not as good at it. Another player whose character had recently died decided to design a halfling fighter assassin to kill Bjorn's character. Grudge killers. Love it. Not only did he kill him, but he delimbed him first. Bjorn's new character, quite remarkably, was the brother of his previous character. As if that wasn't enough, his character also had the disadvantage of intolerance to halflings, because, he wanted the fight. He was about to pick to be good role-playing. Bjorn then set about to avenge his character's brother's death, or attempted to. Turns out the player of the halfling assassin was a really good rules twinker. By the time they both agreed to an armistice, I think there were 3 or 4 of Bjorn's species, all related, represented as notch on the halfling's hilt. The player of the halfling, to his credit, then threw his halfling into an unwinnable and ultimately fatal fight. He then made a less twinky character. So
you see,
compromise, that's the heart of it. And PC negotiations through multiple player-on-player violence. That's
don't
admirable.
talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. I
talk with your weapon.
I want to run a game like that where people run through characters like tissue paper, and PC-on-PC violence is rampant and encouraged.
And we work for a more powerful henchman who kills us when we fail.
Yeah. So basically, paranoia.
Or that one movie you had me watch.
Oh yes, Deadly Prey. That actually, I'll put a link to it in that should be our last shout out. I'll put them in. Well, we'll save that for another episode because that's too good.
You're right.
We shouldn't. Deadly Prey, folks. Deadly Prey.
Just want to say that again. Deadly Prey.
All right, this has been episode 33, Sightseeing Tours, Role Playing Public Radio. I'm Ross Payton.
I'm Tom Church. Good night.